Heavenly Father, we thank you for this day. We ask you to guide and direct our decisions in this meeting and in the next one. In Jesus' name I pray, amen.
Amen. Okay, as soon as Shelley gets back to her desk, we'll call roll. Maybe we could just number off, like grade school. It might all fall out before that. Who knows?
Okay. Janice Taylor. Here. Keith Austin.
Here.
Bill Anglin.
Honey.
Jack Baker.
Here.
Harley Buzzard. Joe Bird.
Honey.
Sean Crittenden.
Honey.
Sean Garvin. Frankie Hargis.
Present.
Wanda Hatfield. Rex Jordan.
Here.
Dick Lay.
Here.
Curtis Snell.
Here.
David Thornton.
Honey.
Victoria Vesquez. David Walkingstick. Brian Warner.
Honey.
We do have a quorum.
Okay, thank you. I need an approval of the minutes.
I make them.
Motion and a second to approve both the budget hearings and the regular session. Are you still in for that, Councilor Hargis?
Yes.
Okay, all those in favor? Aye. Any opposition? No. Brings us to our reports. Sean Slayton with Cherokee Nation Business will go first.
Is he here?
You're not here.
He is in the
Hard to
house.
see you.
He's turning off his phone.
You get so short, we didn't see you.
Yeah. Sorry about that.
Good afternoon.
Hello?
I have Mr. Stephen Bilby with me, and what would you like for the order of it?
I want you to go ahead and present, and then we'll have him come up and
Okay.
do his presentation.
That'd be great. I'm gonna be short and sweet today.
Right.
Reporting on July, as I understand it, it was a fantastic month for the businesses. We ended up 2.2 million, I believe, ahead of our budget, and followed that up with a good month in August as well. So things are looking good for the businesses through the 10th and 11th, 12th month of the year. We finish up, of course, at the end of September. Projects are going well. We hope to wrap up the spa there at Hard Rock in December at the latest. That's going to be really pretty, and look forward to that opening. I appreciate the committee that was formed to help with that and Victoria's service on there. But I think the nation will be pleased with the results. We opened up Outpost 1. The pumps are flowing, the fastest pumps in Tahlequah, and I'm proud of that. That was my one contribution to the project, is fastest pumps we can get out there. So they came through. We even timed it. So proud of the way it looked, and I hope y'all are pleased with it as well. Grove continues to outpace the schedule, and going ahead this week in the sewer line. Very happy about opening on that, and be happy to answer.
Sean, I don't know if it's a question or not about it, and I haven't had a vote on, and I hate to say classier, but a different restaurant for clients that are buying $1 million of properties on Grand Lake to have a private sit-down meeting to discuss bids.
Sure.
Now, if it's like the one in Fort Gibson,
Yeah.
I've had real estate people in Grove ask me several, are we going to have a restaurant? And I said, well, that's what I thought we were going to have in Grove, not one of them like that. And they were expecting a restaurant where they could come in and take a client and maybe sell a $10 million property on Shangri-La Resorts. I don't know where it is. I just brought it up to you and some of the administration people, and I haven't heard back from anyone whether it's changed or not, so that's my 2 cents worth in it.
Sure. And we talked a little bit about it at the last one,
Yeah.
and I did go back and talk to Mark and the construction crew, and the way that was originally designed is more on the Fort Gibson model. And because of that, that's kind of an all-open bar kind of deal. And what they are doing is looking to see what, if any, modifications can be made. Of course, we built that, for gaming and to serve that customer and that clientele. With the thought that probably sooner rather than later, it was going to prove out to be a performer, and that we would look at phase 2. And the phase 2 would kind of lead it more towards the West Siloam with the restaurants and things like that. But we're going to wait and see. We'll do what we can. We did pull the menu. I looked at that Tuesday or Wednesday. Mark is out at the G2E conference this week, and when he gets back, we're going to look at adding a couple of menu items that I think will kind of elevate at least the menu a little above where Fort Gibson is and things like that. But at this point, I don't know how much, if anything, we're going to be able to do to change the original design.
And it may not be big enough. My thinking was if you just had a wall, not a partition, but
Yeah.
just a wall, just to separate it and have 5 or 6 sit-down table booths where you could do business over there.
We have a pony wall that goes around
Okay.
that, and we're looking at
Okay.
structurally whether or not we can
Okay.
add glass to that and kind of give that its own private look.
Okay, well, I just wanted to...
We are looking at it.
Okay. Thank you. I just wanted to bring that up again. All right, well, thank you anyway. Thank you.
Does anybody else have any questions for Sean? Okay, if not, I'm going to call Stephen Bilby up here. When Chief Baker went into office some 5 years ago, one of the things that he wanted to do was look at diversifying our businesses, not put all our eggs in the gaming basket. And for those of you that attend the CMB board meetings regularly, you are familiar with Mr. Bilby and what he has done. But for the rest of the council who is not, we've made great strides in kind of balancing. In the last, I knew we were about 60 gaming, about 40 other businesses. And so we've come a long way towards kind of protecting ourselves from all the competition that's in gaming. But I wanted him to kind of update the rest of the council on what we're doing with our other businesses, and he provided a handout that I think he's going to go through with us. So, have at it.
Yeah, let me jump in here right
Okay.
quick. Janice, I want to introduce Stephen Bilby. He's a young Cherokee executive. I call him young because when he came into the organization, he came to us from Williams there in Tulsa, and started in IT department, ended up being the chief information officer, and then was tasked with creating the diversified business section. And the results speak for themselves, but I have to say that one of the things that I'm most proud of, having been here for a while, are the people that have come into the organization and grown up in it and have become Cherokee leaders. And the gentleman sitting beside me certainly fits that and has exceeded all of my expectations. He has my complete trust. That doesn't mean he doesn't make mistakes and I don't make mistakes, but he is a great Cherokee leader now and one in the future. And the things that you see today are the result of his efforts and those that work for him. And, he's a self-starter, and he's been key to help lead the turnaround over at CNI as well too. And in just one short year, we've made great strides over there. That's headed the right direction, and that's because of his leadership with the team that's over there and their buy-in to the changes that we make. So I'm going to be quiet. I'm going to go sit at the back in case he messes up. I can get out quick.
I'm going to have to come before this body more often with compliments like that from our leader. I appreciate that, Sean. Good afternoon. As Sean mentioned, I'm Stephen Bilby. I started in 2002, and he gave you some of the background. But I was thinking on the drive out is the last time I believe I met with this body was when we were kicking around the diversification idea, and so I'm excited to kind of report some of the results and successes that we've had. And so if it's okay, I'll go into kind of who we are and what we do, and then at the end give you some examples of the type of work that we do. And I hope by the end you'll be as proud of the work that Cherokee Nation businesses and ultimately the Cherokee Nation are doing, not just here in Oklahoma, but across the country, and effectively very soon will be around the world. So it's exciting things, and I'm excited to be here and get to talk to you about those things. As Councilor Taylor mentioned, the real goal was to diversify our revenue stream and diversify our job opportunities, and through that we would be more well-rounded and better protected, I think was the word that you used. And so I think we're well on the path, and as we talk within Diversified Business, we're always talking about what are we building, what problem are we solving, and who ultimately are we serving. And so as that relates to the Cherokee Nation, we are proud to be a part of the economic engine. We're proud to be solving the profit and jobs issue at hand and continuing to grow that, and then serving the Cherokee citizens and you all as their representative. It's very, very exciting and humbling at the same time. If you go to the second slide, the Built for Success slide, it gives you kind of a breakdown of C&B as a whole. Everything that you see there in blue is what we call diversified business. So to make it real simple, everything but gaming and our real estate holdings fall into diversified businesses. There are essentially 6 sectors that we talk about in that. The first there is distribution and logistics. That's the part that sits in Pryor today, part of the C&I company. And then our engineering and manufacturing, also the C&I entity falls into that. And then our environmental and construction, our technology, our health sciences group, and our consulting. And I'll explain more about each of those in just a moment. But essentially within those buckets, there are 28 total LLC companies. And so far to date, we've served right at 54 different federal agencies, as well as some commercial clients. One of the things that I'm most proud of to report to you is, if you look at the 4 buckets right under Cherokee Nation businesses, all of our executive general managers in those groups are Cherokee citizens. So throughout the course of the last 4 or 5 years, we've been able to develop Cherokee citizens. I benefited from that through Sean and others, and so we've done the same thing and continue that philosophy, as well as many of the what we call OGM, operating general managers, within those 28 LLCs are also Cherokee. So we continue to push that forward, and that's exciting to see the leadership grow within each of those companies. So I talked a little bit about our nationwide footprint. If you look at the map, essentially we're in 45 states today. We're also in Guam. And you can kind of see it. That's a heat map you're looking at there in terms of where the vast majority of our employees are. And we have 592 total in the state of Oklahoma. The vast majority of those sit inside the Cherokee Nation. We do serve the Weather Service out of Norman, as well as the Mike Monroney FAA Aeronautical Center there in Oklahoma City. So we've got about 20 total folks down there. The rest would fall within the Cherokee Nation. So you see we have a national footprint. And one of the things that is exciting about this is, when I talk to our folks across the country, I talk to them about being Cherokee Nation ambassadors and what it means to be part of the Cherokee Nation. And this is not just a business to us. It's much, much more, right? And we talk about the problems that through their hard work, the things that we're solving back here inside the Cherokee Nation. And so when you think about things like the hospital and the clinic and all the good services that the Cherokee Nation provide, not only do our customers get excited about that, but our employees get excited about that, and they are happy to be part of an organization that gives back into the community like we do here inside the 14 counties. So it's an exciting thing. And so today we have roughly 3,000 ambassadors across the country that are really focused on telling that Cherokee Nation story. And obviously, the work that they do creates profit for us also. So now we have goodwill out in the public as well as bringing profit back into the 14 counties. If you go to the next slide, and if there are any questions, stop me at any time. I'll be happy to answer those. If you go to the next slide, it really points to the growth that I think Councilor Taylor alluded to. Significant growth over the last 5 to 6 years. And then as you look at this, there's two lines, one being diversified businesses, and as Sean mentioned, C&I became part of diversified businesses at the tail end of 2015 into 2016. And so you see our significant growth. We're right at, in total for C&B, we are $1 billion business. And so 400 million of that roughly is attributed to diversified businesses. So that 60-40 split that you described is right on.
Is that when Chief and Sean had a long talk with you in 2015? Because the arrow just goes straight up.
Yes, that is when Sean set me down and he wagged his finger a few times at me, and that's what got it going. Absolutely.
What led to that increase from 15 to 16?
Well, a lot of things. As you can see, our diversified businesses group, the blue line, has kind of continued on that trajectory. And then in the C&I business, our logistics and distribution, the part in prior, they had a significant increase in revenue over the last year. Our AT&T contract, and I have that as the last slide, it was about a 3-year contract, and they prioritized that project higher than they expected. And so that 3-year project turned into about an 18-month project, and so it rocketed up, and it was probably $40 to $45 million more in FY16 than we anticipated. But when you look at the total growth, and in 15 you have to add those two together, but let's call it 311 million. Diversified businesses in total grew roughly $80 million year over year in top line revenue. So significant growth, and a large portion of that is our logistics and distribution. Health sciences also did significantly better than they had the year before, and we'll explain a little bit of those details in terms of what they do in just a second. If you flip to the next slide, obviously we've seen significant revenue growth. Unfortunately, and I want to set y'all's expectation, unfortunately our business doesn't have the same profit margin as our casino business. As much as I've hoped and prayed that it would, it just doesn't have the same margin as most businesses don't. And so essentially, when you break it down, of every dollar that we make, we roughly keep a nickel of that. I think we can get better than that. I think we should be north of 8% or 8 cents of that dollar. So we're pushing towards that, and as we continue to build C&I and the engineering and manufacturing component up, it will quickly get to that 8% margin. But you see kind of the history here and the growth of the operating profit as well, with 2016 expecting to come in right at $18.5 million. So significant year-over-year growth within the portfolio. All right, I'll move on. If you flip to the next slide, one of the things that we measure as an indicator of continued growth is how many dollars we win each and every year. And essentially, to give you some level of understanding of that, most of our contracts are on average 2 to 3 years long. When you take all of our companies together, most of the contracts that they win are 2 to 3 years in length. So in 16, or let's look at 15, $497 million, that would be spread out over 2 in 1 year. So we're constantly looking at, if that number continues to grow, ultimately the revenue of the business will continue to grow. And we're 1 day away from the fiscal year end for the government, so it's been a to exceed that projected amount in 2016 of $472 million. So,
When were these figures? Is this end of August? or-
yes, this was end of August.
That's- We've got a whole nother.
And this has a forecast at that time, so almost of September will be much higher
Very good.
than what we've projected. Go to our impact, and this number will also move north. Essentially, over $2 billion of contracts have been won in diversified business in 2012. And again, we reflect the 592 jobs in Oklahoma. North of 550 of those, I believe it's right at 570, are within the 14 counties. So our Stillwell, our prior locations. So I'll pause for a second and let you ask any questions. If there are none, I'll move kind of into examples of work that we do.
Oh, I got one.
Okay?
So out of this 492 million, these are contracts. Do you know this ballpark on jobs that are sustaining businesses, like your shop up in Pryor? Because I guess at any time these government businesses in Cherokee Nation that are going to sustain if government aided contracts are gone. I wonder what percentage.
Yes,
that is.
our ultimate goal, while we have green status, forever be in the 8A program. We still have a 9-year life for each of those. We graduate out of the 8A program. Those companies graduate out of the 8A program. That those companies will continue to be successful companies with jobs inside of the 14 counties. So contracts will come and go, but I do not expect that the businesses will come and go. It's my job, it's my team's job to constantly be out there marketing to deliver on more contracts that sustain this business. I don't want to see the ebb and flow or the up and down.
What do you think the percent is, though, as far as those sustaining jobs that you talked about? Like, what's the percent there? Are we talking 20%, 10% of these jobs versus the rest of them that's under contract?
Of the 592?
Yeah, was it 492 million? Like how much of that pie is going towards businesses that are sustaining, that aren't ran by government 8A contracts?
So you're asking for our non-8A
Yes.
business?
Yes, correct.
So in this past year, our logistics $90 million, our C&I business, which there are 8A and there are government contracts associated with that business, between $30 and $40 million.
So probably
there.
25% roughly.
Yeah, I think it's probably north of that. It's a little bit difficult to answer. I mean, I look at this as it's 100% sustaining. I want 592 of those plus more over time jobs here in the 14 counties to continue to be from now and for years to come.
Yeah.
I don't look at those as we expect those to fluctuate. I only anticipate the growth.
I think the thing is, Councilor Walkenstiff, as this contract runs off, they've got another one right behind it. They're
Exactly.
constantly looking for contract wins so that the employees are working. They just may be working on XYZ contract and then it's ABC the next time.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you saw that contract wins chart, go up one year and drop one year and go up another year and drop another year. Focus of our business development team to not let that happen. Continue to push that ball forward. And I may just throw out, as we push into or outside of the 8A and contracting is done outside of the 8A program. So in the total pool, we're swimming in the very small end of the pool. There's much more out in past performance. We can in a competitive environment.
Councilor Crittenden?
Good to see you.
I understand we got some opportunities in December at contracts.
Yes, sir.
And that's a good thing.
Yes, sir.
What concerns me, and I wanted you to be aware of it, is I was talking to management, and there some more some more hands, 13 to 15 part-timers would sure help to meet that, because I'm getting a lot of calls about overtime on some of these employees, 10-hour days, working Saturdays, and it's, with the last issue that we all met about,
Sure.
How that, those two factors together kind of, I'd sure like you to, as opposed to, I'd like to see less Saturdays, if I was choosing less Saturdays, less 10-hour days, I don't want to work them, and maybe more hands on deck to kind of get them back into their normal lifetime schedule, because I've kept up with it myself, plenty of phone calls, and I'd appreciate you looking at that.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll look at it. We're going to, one of the things that's exciting, and you mentioned some of the contracts, we are seeing great opportunities for our C&I business, and that's really exciting. And one of the things is the production, and how do we balance the production with the number of people and achieving work-life balance and all those things like that. And we will absolutely.
If anybody would be for those contracts with overtime and Saturdays, and I think we could.
Yeah, no,
consider that.
it's never our intention for an extended period of time to work someone excessively, right? It doesn't make sense financially, because overtime costs us more, and it doesn't achieve work-life balance. That's never our goal. For short runs, a month or two, we may have to do that, but for long periods of time, that's never our goal. But I will absolutely continue to.
Carry on.
Yeah, so I took some, I think they're really good examples of the type of work that we're doing across all of the diversified businesses, and there's a lot more than just these. These are some of the very interesting ones. So we do a lot of work with the Institute of Research at Walter Reed. One of the things that we do is we do a lot of scientific research for what we call RARE, Walter Reed Army Institute of Research, around things like Zika, as we've all heard in the news. 18 months ago or so, it was the Ebola virus. But essentially, we have scientists that work within Walter Reed that are studying how to cure, whether it be Zika or whether it be the Ebola virus, is infectious disease type of viruses that we've all heard about on the news. The other thing with it, so that's very neat and very cool just to talk about. But the other thing that we do, when you think about the Army's role as it relates to infectious disease, typically when there's a large outbreak, who moves in to control the scene first? It's typically our soldiers, right? And so they are constantly monitoring worldwide what is happening on the is Cherokee Nation businesses employees into our database, and then every month, not just U.S. organizations, about ours and where hot spots are. Ebola virus was breaking out significantly worldwide on where that was, what the numbers were, and you would hear about the Ebola virus reaching its peak and then starting to decline. That was all based on metrics Cherokee employees were putting together. So a lot of times when you're hearing about things that's going on inside the government, there could potentially be a Cherokee employee with their hands doing that work. So it's really exciting work, and it's cutting edge type of work and very exciting. The next one is it's probably one of the most humbling contracts that for me that we do work on. Down in San Antonio is the Center for the Intrepid. It's where the most severely wounded soldiers typically end up. And one of the research programs that they have down there is, as you guys have heard, post-traumatic stress disorder is one of the major things impacting our soldiers as they late, we're learning someone suffering from PTSD back into a very controlled way, back into the environment that caused the stress, that you can ultimately treat the stress. So this picture that you see is essentially a virtual reality environment. They're harnessed in, as you can see, there's somewhat of a treadmill type thing, so they can actually be walking through the environment. But if you can, in a controlled way, recreate that scenario, what studies are showing is that their symptoms are less severe than they were historically. Obviously, we're early in this research to see, and as you know, the Cherokee Nation and historically on a per capita basis, Native Americans serve at a much higher rate. And so when we think about that and our efforts here, it goes hand in hand, and very research and things that we're doing could affect our soldiers long-term and their health and well-being. The next slide is work that we do for NOAA, National Oceanic Atmospheric Administration. Essentially what you're looking at there on the right is a very large unmanned aerial vehicle. And what this drone, if you will, does is it flies above hurricanes, flies above severe weather, and basically it's loaded with sensors, all of them into us, and we run analysis storms, hurricanes, and just weather patterns. Exciting work, cutting edge sort of work. This plane can stay in the air for 24 hours. And in the last couple of small hurricanes was used extensively. It's a way of getting manned aircraft out of that severe weather environment, and the research is significantly better. DEA, much similar to our reporting in infectious disease, we're also helping the DEA. A lot of our contracts started as where we were doing information technology type of work. So we were gathering data, reporting on that data back out to someone. That turned into where we were bringing on the scientists that were actually doing the research itself. So you connect the hands-on scientists with the data itself, you tend to get a much better result, and that's what we're seeing through our work here. But essentially we're doing studies around drugs, and with drugs, as you might seeing opiates is one of the larger things that they're trying to go. We have work with, if you fly into any smaller airport, weather systems that a lot of the major airports do, but they're still under FAA control. If you look to this picture on the right-hand side, we build an small weather observation system. So at this wire, we wire all those up, we integrate all those, we test those, and then we handle the logistics of getting those out to the airstrip, and someone else manages the install, but we make sure that the kit is there as well. We also do a mobile trailer that has the same equipment on it, that they just, in case of, something's down or out, they just roll this trailer that we've built out to the end of the air runway and continue operations. All right, last one, I kind of already talked about it. It's our AT&T contract. Essentially, they're doing a major fiber upgrade, essentially fiber to the home in the southeastern part of the country. We manage all the inventory, all the logistics. So we get all these raw materials, we put them together in essentially a kit, and then we send them out to the right, essentially wire up, whether that's on a cell tower or actually going in. I know I ran through that last part quickly, but I know we were running short on time. Are there any questions for me or comments?
Counselor Thornton.
Not really a question, but more or less a statement. For these hours that you have to work with these people at CNI, I worked for North American Aviation for 4 years. And when we got contracts in which we got cables in my department, and we've got cables at CNI before too, and radar equipment, tracking systems for NASA and the Apollo space shots. And when you get those kind of contracts, you've got dates set up that you begin that contract and you end that contract. So lots of days and nights that I've worked 7 days a week and 10 hours a day for North American Aviation. But the thing is here, people, that we're not sitting out there all alone. We're competitive. This is a competitive business. And those people are trying to get contracts that doesn't have anything to do with the Cherokee Nation, and we're bidding against them. Finished contract, well, but how many man hours you have in there and how many people it's going to take to do that job. So, you know, I can understand people having to work on Saturdays. And if I had a good job, I wouldn't be griping about working Saturdays. I may want a Sunday too every once in a while. But that's just my view of that. Thank you.
Well, I come from blue collar Mid-America Industrial Park, and a lot of my people count on the overtime. So it is, you know, it's different everywhere, but yes,
Yeah,
Councilor.
I'd just like to follow up. I mean, it's different everywhere for sure. The folks that and that's what I'm bringing this up for. And I believe personally, even if I wasn't representing them, if I had a choice to hire a few more part-time workers or work these folks a lot more hours, I would take the part-time help. And there's a variable here that these folks, they just got some leave that they've had for a long time taken from them. And
I understand. I've been
so there's some variables here that I've got to stand up for, and I have confidence in Mr. Bilby that he'll look into that, because it's a real issue. You know, with the time taken and the overtime, it's not sitting good with my folks.
Well, I understand
and
that.
if there's a side to be on, that's whose side I'm going to be on.
I understand that, but when it comes to a finished product at a finished time, we've got to do it.
Well,
It isn't that you can't do it. And
Well,
when it
they
comes to
probably-
deer season, you need to be at working and not out there in the deer tree.
They probably welcome you on those Saturdays if you want to come in and help.
I've been up there.
All right.
I've seen it.
Thank you.
And I'm 72 years old, but I guarantee you, I can work on Saturdays too. There's no big deal there.
Well, I could too, but my concern here is not necessarily me, because I don't work there. It's those people that I represent that elected me to be here.
I understand that.
It's what they're wanting.
Yeah.
My wants are totally different. I want a hamburger,
I want a job.
But I got it.
I want a
But,
job.
but I'm gonna stand up for them.
Yeah.
And I, this particular issue, I agree with them. So, thank you.
You're welcome. Are there any other questions or comments for Mr. Bilby?
Good report. I remember years ago, CNI, 15, 20 years ago, we'd get a $10 million contract, and everybody would
You were
just
dancing.
jump up with joy. But it cost $11 million to fulfill the contract. Now, I see a different, more competent in how we handle these contracts. We've come a long ways.
Thank you.
Good report.
Appreciate
Thank you
the
for being
support.
here, Stephen.
Thank you all.
Appreciate you.
Thanks very much.
Keep up the good work. Okay, that brings us down to our treasurer, Lacey Horn.
Yeah. Good afternoon.
That's a tough act to follow
Oh.
right there.
Piece of cake.
Piece of cake. I have great news.
Good.
I have great news. So, we have closed on our loan with Bank of Oklahoma for the Tahlequah joint venture project. We closed the loan on August the 26th. Chief signed it. And we entered into the swap agreement locking in our interest rate at 2.9% for 15 years on September the 12th. And so I'm just over the moon about this agreement. It's unprecedented in Indian country. It's a general obligation of the nation, authorized here unanimously by this body. And we are, and so I can talk about a lot of the specifics of it offline. I can't really go into it due to confidentiality on live stream. So I'm happy to just brag and gush about this financing arrangement that we've been able to secure for the nation. And I would be remiss if I did not thank Chief Baker. He really set the vision high for me and my team when we went after this financing. And I want to thank Jamie Cole, our controller. He was instrumental in this. And Chad Harsha from the Attorney General's office. He kept us straight. And I did tell Chief this story. I said, we've argued with each other. We've argued with our attorneys. We've argued with their attorneys. We've argued with the bank. I mean, it was really a labor of love for all of us. And so I'm very proud to say that we're finally there, and we've done our first draw now. So very excited about that.
Very good.
I also wanted to mention that payroll hit the employees' accounts yesterday, Wednesday, which was a day early. And no, that's not a permanent change. It's just a one-time deal because as we go through the exercise of switching over our treasury operations, which has again been another year-long deal, the last bastion of that was switching over the employee payroll. So we wanted to go ahead and have that be processed a day early in order to be sure that if there were any issues, we had a day to fix it before the legally required time to remit payroll to our employees. And then I would also like to call attention to the memo that Brandy has passed out in front of you regarding donations. You'll see under proposed items, and I won't mention this woman's name, but you have it here. We have a lady who has proposed donating 2 tracts of her mother's land in Mays County, and she is hoping that the nation can take possession of these 2 tracts of land, sell them, and then take the proceeds of which to provide scholarships for women in her mother's name. And then I also want to make note of received items. We received items from Vivian Garner Cottrell. Is that how you say her last name, Counselor? Some baskets, and that these are going to be held in climate-controlled storage until we find a prominent place for them here at the complex. So we're very grateful to receive these from some of our national treasurers. So with that, I'll be happy to take any questions on my written report that you might have or otherwise.
Counselor Vasquez?
Yes, I just have a comment. I spoke with Vivian, and she was really wanted to be here when this was announced, but with the baskets, but she's out of town. And she said that she will drop the baskets off here in the near future so we can see what's been donated, one by her late mother and one by herself. And that's a great gift, for her.
Absolutely.
Because she could have received a pretty good monetary check for that. So we thank Vivian publicly today.
Thank you. Yes.
I have one comment. Would you communicate with your upper echelon about our national treasure? With winter coming on, this is when it becomes real slow for them. And they have nice pieces of artwork that they have shown here during Cherokee holidays, maybe in Santa Fe. Cherokee Art Market's coming up next weekend at the Hard Rock. So these are items that if they don't sell would really look nice displayed throughout the Cherokee Nation. Thank you.
Counselor Warner?
Yes, I'd like to echo that. I've got a spot for them if they want to bring any down to Carl Albert State College. We've got a library next month, Native American Awareness Month, and I'd love to re-outfit, redesign that whole thing and have it set up to where not only do you have to go to the clinic to see the artwork, but they could come on campus and check that out. We've got a new Native American Student Success Center coming, and I think it'd feel welcoming for those Native American students to come in and be able to look at that art and read and do anything. So,
good.
Thank you.
Yes. Okay.
Thank you. We'll visit about that.
Anything else for Lacey? Counselor Lake?
Not for Lacey, it's for Brian. Brian, what's the percentage of Native students down there? Probably pretty high.
Well, it's getting higher. We're at like 45, and I mean, that's jumped significantly. We went from just one of my target areas is Adair County and northern Sequoia County, and we went from 87, we have 636 from 87 in Adair County to 115 just in one little semester, and we haven't even really begun marketing that area. So that's kind of one of my big concerns, is to go into those low socioeconomic areas and get them educated so we can help them, and then that helps out our human resource people, and that that's kind of the big move there. But we've got more, especially since we got that grant. It's been money at Southsaw campus. So we've got a, computer lab, we've got academic coaching, got a Aaron Emberton, native of Bellefonte area. He's got, yeah.
Thank you.
You bet.
Okay, if there's no other questions for Lacey, just keep up the good work.
Thank you. And I'm going to take my leave right now. I believe you have everything you need. I have an assigned parent-teacher kindergarten 4:45 that I need to make it back to
I
my
hope it goes well.
I do too. Thanks, y'all.
Good luck.
Good luck with that, Lacey. All right, Diane, I know you're dying to bring us some good news.
Oh, I am.
You always have good news.
Lots of good news. Lots of good news. This is one of our busy times of the year. October coming up is. We had our annual tarot golf tournament. And this year, rather than giving money to the Angel Tree, we're giving our money to the Elder Care Program for elders this year. It'll go out to Debbie Proctor and the Elder Care Program for them to have a good Christmas this year. I want to commend Larry Vance. He headed up the golf tournament this year. And I want to thank all of you golfers who participated. I know that Speaker Byrd did, and they contributed their winnings back, which we appreciate. They're going to have a check to present to them at the Tarot Banquet in November. $8,000 plus is what they're going to be giving them. So we're excited about that this year. I want to commend Willard Mounts and Larry Vance. They've been going all over the 14 counties, and Christine Rogers is based in our Tulsa office now, and Christine's working very closely with Larry on a lot of the procurement for purchasing up in that area. So we've got a really good team, and Tammy and them are working on the banquet. We have our banquet scheduled for Thursday, November the 17th at the Hard Rock, and we're expecting a pretty good turnout, probably bigger and better than what it was last year. We're adding a few awards to the awards that will be presented this year, and I'll have some more information on that for you later in the month. The NORA Summit is going to be October the 25th at Northeastern, and I would encourage you to come if you can. I think Councilman Austin, had already indicated that he was coming, to the summit. It's at Northeastern. I don't know if that's the one you told us that you wanted to come to, but we are presenting a 200.
Not the when, it's the where. It's not the where, it's the when. When is it?
It's the end of this month.
Okay.
In October.
You mean October?
Yes, the 25th. And we have $250,000 from the $6 million that we received last year, and the chief will be presenting that remainder of that $500,000 check to the NORA group at the summit. So I'd encourage you to come if you can. Also, we got the signs up in Salisaw, Councilman Warner, and we got the sign in Claremore, Councilman Austin. So we think that will help a lot. Star Pipe out of South Coffeyville, the governor made her announcement. There's still more things to come. They're going to be doing groundbreaking. We are heavily involved with that project. C&B has been working diligently with us on this project. We've been in Stillwell at Swans on their expansion. Did a job fair for Macy's, and we're also doing some recruits for tomorrow at their facility. I've been working with Buffalo Wild Wings, Taco Bueno. In fact, Taco Bueno's had our staff out here being their guinea pigs for their cheese on their face. You'll know where they've been, Taco Bueno, but they do open Monday. So go by and have some Taco Bueno. Buffalo Wild Wings, if you've driven by there, the parking lot is full every time you go by there. So that's been a hit with everybody. And next week in Pryor, in the Mid-American Industrial Park, at Rogers State University will be a chili cook-off in conjunction with National Manufacturing Month, and we are going to be participating in that as our second year. This is the third year they've had it. Proceeds go to the United Way, and we're hoping to get first place this year because we've got some things planned. Can't tell you what they are, but if you're in the area, come by and buy a $5 tasting kit and go by and cast your vote for our chili because it's going to win. Also, we are sending a team to NCAI to support the Cherokee Nation and Speaker Byrd, who is in his role as one of the area vice presidents, and I've got a team that'll be leaving out next weekend to go and help with the Skokie to the manufacturing awards banquet. We've been nominated. We're going over there. Got a lot of things going on in our department. Job developers, I want to commend Daryl Legg, Brenda Fitzgerald, and all my job development staff. Had 2 job developers that worked 4 days working, and Teresa Morris and Levon Tubbs, I commend them. They Chamber of Commerce there in Fort Smith, and one of the things that we have to do is go down there and present them. So we're working, we're covering all this border all the way down into Fort Smith, so we're covering them, and we're up in Tulsa. Do y'all have any questions?
I have a comment. Year after year, we get to NCAI, and I know this is not your responsibility, but would you check and see if our membership check is going to be there?
It's already been done and confirmed.
Oh, that is good news. We've had people ante up, we've had people put land, mortgage, and, I mean, Deputy was in tears last time. So, thank you for getting that check in.
George Roach and Christopher Thompson are leaving on Saturday, and they're shipping all of our stuff out for the caucus meetings and everything, the signs, the door prizes, everything's going out. It's going to be shipped next Thursday, so it should be out there when you get there. They will have the list, and they will go and help and assist with any of the council members that are out there to help get you registered.
I may have show of hands, how many council members are going this time? Just me? We went just for election year.
Next year, they'll all be going. Oh, no, this is for voting for the area vice president. Last year was election year.
I live in a small world.
It's every other year.
There are voters out there.
I do want to speak to this chili cook-off that they have up in my neck of the woods. And last year, we came in second, and Diane was so angry. And she figured out how the first place team beat us. And I can assure you that is the last time Cherokee Nation will be beaten, because she's on top of this. You know, you beat Diane once.
What's the date?
For
Date of the chili cook-off?
We're going to be gone. It's next Wednesday.
It's next
I think
Wednesday.
the 5th.
Sorry, we'll be in North Carolina.
But we got our aprons, our backdrop. Brad Eubanks is working on it. We got our aprons. We got everything lined up, and we're going to be ready.
And I am sorry to miss it.
I'll give you a tip after the meeting how to win.
Okay, any other questions or comments for Diane? If not, we'll let... Okay, who's going to report for Anna? Stephen?
Hi, I'm Stephen Hires in Commerce. Anna sends her regrets. She's representing the Cherokee Nation in Washington, D.C. to this week at the CFED conference, so that'll be on her way up there. She has submitted her report, so you have that in front of you. A highlight, just to know, good job. On this report, you see that we've exceeded our goal of, we're at $1.6 million. By the time the fiscal year ends tomorrow, you'll see that will be considerably more. We'll end the year at about $1.9 million side, as well as creating the jobs. And we've also had a record year on the consumer lending side with our tribal and employee loans, so that's all a plus. And we're also happy to announce that with our CDFI, we were just awarded $800,000 to go into our loan fund to be able to give to commercial lending. So it's been a good wrap up to a good year, and we look forward to next year. So if you have any questions, I'm happy to answer them.
I have a comment. Council members, for those of you who do not know, it's this gentleman here that is the gatekeeper at our powwow, Cherokee Hall. He's the one that takes the very few compliments. But he's been called everything but an American citizen. So let's give him a call. He puts up with a lot. These were the least complaints we ever had of any year.
Well, good. I appreciate that. We were very fortunate to have some very good day workers this year that helped us out a lot.
Good job.
Thank you very much. Any other questions?
Okay, nothing else for Stephen?
Thank you all.
You did well. Okay, we're moving on down to our consent items, and is the tarot list in the book complete, Willard? Okay, so if you've had a chance to look that over, need a motion.
I'll move for its approval.
Second.
Motion and a second to approve the tarot list. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposition? Let's go down to the community assistance. You were given a new list. Look it over. Be sure you spend all your money.
Everybody is zeroed out, so.
I have a motion, can I have a second? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposition? Okay.
Any changes? Okay, we're good on that one. Motion.
Motion to approve.
Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Roads projects,
No changes.
Second?
motion and a second, all those in favor?
Aye.
Sports teams,
Motion to approve.
thank you. Motion and a second, all those in favor?
Aye.
Livestock,
Motion to approve.
Second.
got a motion and a second on the livestock, all those in favor? Jack
Madam
Baker?
Chair, I'd like to make a motion as a consent item that we process a reallocation from the Cherokee Nation Tribal Council fiscal year 16 budget for County Unit 101-0700 to allow for a $10,000 donation from the Cherokee Nation Tribal Council to the Standing Rock Sioux Tribe.
Can I have a second?
Second.
Got a motion and a second to, do you have, yep.
Okay.
A motion and a second.
Samantha Ben Duke was here earlier, and she wanted me to inform the council on the updates of Standing Rock. She said yesterday he's arrested that the National Guard is in armored vehicles and spreading tear gas across North Dakota. Going to go to Illinois, which will be crossing the traditional Trail of Tears course. And as Obama just signed another contract for oil pipeline, and she just wanted us to, that the folks up there appreciate the firewood and the woods and water would be put to good use. So I was wanting to echo that from Samantha Ben Duke. Thank you. Thank you, Chair.
Is there any other discussion? If not, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposition?
Abstain.
Brings us down to old business.
Thank you, Councilman. Thank you, Jim.
There's none on the new business, so does anybody have announcements?
Back up and see that Speaker Byrd is the one that actually was pushing this through, promoting the $10,000 donation, and we appreciate
Thank you.
his doing that.
Okay, I met with the chief while I was in D.C. just a few days ago, and that's what he communicated to me. He says it'd really be helpful just to really show of strength and support. And having the Cherokee Nation weigh in and support like we did through that resolution, he said it was very helpful. It brought the Navajo tribe on board. It brought some of these larger tribes on board. And it's the right thing to do. They're fighting for their water rights and so forth, and people digging up their burial ground. So, people, just thank you, Councilman.
Counselor Thornton.
From what I understand, the burial on the pipeline, they were like, the company found out that they was going to down through court, that during that week, they just went out there and dug those burial things up, dozed them.
Yeah.
Intentional.
Pitiful. Pitiful.
Do you know how that's going to be handled, Speaker?
I'm going up on the 17th after our council meeting.
That's great. Thank you, Joe.
Oh, make a motion to adjourn.
Second?
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.